Hello everybody, it's Great on 95. I'm back with more Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney. Let us continue on with our investigationary trialness. Go. When you say that man, I assume you refer to Joe Dark. Yes, at least I think it was him. You think? All I could really see were shadows. The power outage that immediately preceded the incident is also documented in the prosecutor's office reports. So then you... I panicked and rushed towards shut up. Why would you do something so dangerous? Wow, I almost said outrageous. What else could I have done? He was about to stab Mr. Marshall. She seems convinced that Dark was the one holding the knife. But as we've just theorized, Mr. Marshall was the one holding the knife. Well, I didn't know at the time, when that Dark guy knocked me down, all I could think was, I've got to help Mr. Marshall. What do you mean, you think? It all happened so fast, and I was in shock. I don't remember everything clearly. What I did, it's all kind of a blur. In a matter of just a few seconds, Miss Skye was almost killed. Then she witnessed a murder about to take place. A little disorientation is only natural. I saw the man about to stab the other person who I thought was Mr. Marshall. I knew I had to stop the man with the knife. What you did was very brave, young girl. So then what happened next? Are you sure about this? Of course, see? I even drew a picture of him here. But the head detective of criminal affairs thought up this hideous beast. And that was just this year. The Blue Badger didn't even exist 2 years ago. This is all quite verifiable. I know it sounds strange. I was surprised too when I saw him at the police department. I had this nagging feeling I'd seen him before somewhere. Now I finally remembered. Oh brother, just when you thought that thing had caused enough commotion. Tell us, where in the room did you see him dancing? Dancing? He wasn't in the room, but I'm sure I shut up. His shadow? So you mean you didn't actually see his face and his winning smile after and all? And all? That's right, but I can't talk, but I still remember it. He had 3 creepy horns. This is pointless. That thing couldn't have possibly existed 2 years ago. The witness must be mistaken. That may well be. But what's important is what caused her to think she saw what she did. Oh? And I suppose you have an explanation? If so, then by all means, please tell us what this shadow really was. What was it Emma saw when the lightning flashed? Who is this Blue Badger? Really? I just might know! The Blue Badger hadn't even been dreamed up when Emma drew this picture. Yet she's certain she saw its shadow. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the defense's belief that on that fateful day 2 years ago, there indeed was something that looked similar to the Blue Badger. Something that is now sitting in this very room. Mr. Wright! In this room? Very well, Mr. Wright. Save! Wow, I love the frame dropping on the freaking emulator. Emulator. I wonder if people think I have a speech problem. What is it that the witness saw in that instant? Please show us this mysterious Blue Badger look-alike. The mysterious Blue Badger was in fact this! But that's... what exactly is that? I believe it's some sort of jar. But Mr. Wright, that doesn't look anything like the Blue Badger. Indeed it doesn't. As it stands now, it's just a plain jar. However, what if we were to change our viewpoint? Our viewpoint? I've got to show them the correct angle to make blah 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 blah. Okay. Well, is this a miracle or what? Oh yeah, did it perfectly. No one can possibly deny this jar's resemblance to the blue badger. No, it can't be! Order, order! The defense has proven its claim. The mysterious blue badger witnessed on the day of the crime was actually this... although we all enjoyed Mr. Wright's dramatic performance, one question remains. What's your point? What do you mean? So that badger thing was actually just a jar. That doesn't change anything. I'm afraid that's where you're wrong, Mr. Edgeworth. You see, this changes everything. Indeed? Very well then. Please tell us, what's different now that we know the witness saw this jar? That's a good question. I'm gonna go with the location. Allow me to take these in turn. At the moment of the murder, the witness saw this jar. Oh yeah. Not only that, but she saw it at a very specific angle. Knowing this, where could she have seen this jar? Where? The location of the jar is shown in a picture taken on the day of the crime. It's on a shelf in the office of Damon Gant. But the body was found lying near Lana Sky's desk. The witness testified so herself. Yes, and it is these two facts that reveal what actually transpired. You see, the struggle between Dark and Marshall did not take place in Lana Sky's office. It happened on the other side of the room, in Chief Gant's office. Are you implying the murderer moved the victim's body? From Damon Gant's office to Lana Sky's office? Yes. Why would he do that? There's no reason. Exactly. If there wasn't a reason, he wouldn't have gone through the trouble. The only logical conclusion is that there was a reason. Do you know what that reason was, Mr. Wright? Ooh, now it's time. I finally figured it out. So this is why Lana tried to stop the trial. It's too late to quit now, though. Please recall the witness's testimony. She said she knocked away the man who was holding up the knife. In the next instant, the jar was hit and flew through the air. Now tell me, what could have sent the jar flying? That would have to have been the impact the man made when he was knocked into the wall. Ladies and gentlemen, if I may draw your attention to this picture once more. If the man was knocked in the direction of the shelf the jar was sitting on, what would he have hit? The suit of armor, holding a very sharp and dangerous looking sword. Yes. And since the man who was knocked into the armor was carrying a broken knife, he would have had to have been Neil Marshall, wielding the prosecutor's... Blah. He would have had to have been Neil Marshall, wielding the prosecutor's award. No, Mr. Wright, you can't be thinking... Yes. There is another possibility of what actually transpired in that room. Another possibility? Of course, the perpetrator would have no idea, but nevertheless... I don't know if I can go through with this. Mr. Wright, what's the matter? If events took place as the defense theorizes, then the outcome is obvious. In that moment, assuming the man Emma Skye knocked away was actually Prosecutor Neil Marshall. Ooh. You mean Mr. Marshall died because of me? No! I did a really bad no there. Faint. Emma fainted. She can no longer be used in battle. I never imagined her testimony would lead to this. So it was the witness who took the victim's life, and then proved so with her own testimony. This is unprecedented. Unprecedented, sorry. What are you saying? I'm sorry, Miss Skye, but given the circumstances, Joe Dark murdered Prosecutor Marshall. How can you think it was Emma? How dare you try to pin the crime on her? Imagine that coming from you. If you recall, it was you who admitted to forging evidence 2 years ago. The reason you moved Prosecutor Marshall's body was to keep anyone else from finding out about what Emma did, wasn't it? I assure you, Mr. Edgeworth, I have no idea what you're talking about. If you hope to have anyone believe your insane allegations, I'm afraid you're going to have proof. Tell me, do you have any conclusive evidence that proves my sister killed Neil Marshall? Evidence? I'm willing to bet you don't. Yes, it certainly would be difficult to prove this with evidence. If we don't have evidence, then we'll have to rely on testimony. I'm afraid that won't work in this case. Both parties involved in the incident are dead. We certainly can't get dead people to testify. This has all been a wild goose chase from the beginning. Touché, Miss Skye. Of course, that only leaves us with one possibility. You mean there's still another possibility? What do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth? I mean the possibility that the victim has left us a message. For better or for worse, Mr. Marshall did not die instantly. He may have left behind the name of the person who took his life. Somehow. That's impossible. Well, Mr. Wright, this is the only possibility left to you. A message from the deceased? Does such a message exist? I've got to think back to the court record. The real murderer's name that the victim may have left behind is in the evidence! I know where it is. This message from the deceased is already in our possession. Mr. Wright, will you stop at nothing to prove my sister a murderer? Do not be mistaken, Miss Skye. Our purpose is not to accuse Emma of any crime. There is only one thing we seek. The truth. No matter how painful it may be. Now then, Mr. Wright, please show us the piece of evidence that conveys a message from the deceased. This is the message left by the deceased. This is that blue badger from before, right? Oh, is he going to just speak the killer's name? If that thing could, I'm sure it would. Looks like everyone's forgotten this is just a jar. A message was left here, on the surface of this jar. What do you mean? If you look closely, you can see a faint trail of blood on this jar. It looks like someone wiped the blood away. Yeah, shut up. Yes, but notice, I gotta change how I'm sitting right now. Oh my god, it hurts. Gotta sit back. Oh, such an action-packed filled episode, isn't it? Just so much murdering. And then just me changing my position. So good. For some reason, the blood on some of the fragments, it was not wiped... Wow. Excuse me, was not wiped away. Yes, there is a line here, drawn in blood. So what you're saying is these dots were once lines. Prosecutor Marshall did not die instantly. He used the few precious moments left to him to leave behind a message. One that someone apparently wiped away. But blood must have seeped into the jar where the lines changed directions. Precisely so. All we need to do is connect these points, and the victim's message will become apparent. No. Mr. Wright, what kind of message did the victim leave for us? Your Honor, I believe these bloodstains will reveal to us the answer. I've got to connect these dots to make letters. There's only one thing the victim would have written given the circumstances. The murderer's name. Woo! Hello. Hello. Okay. Hello. 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 Ba-doop, ba-doop, ba-doop. Ba-doop, ba-doop. Ba-doop, ba-doop. Hello! Next time, we'll present the evidence! So, if you guys like what I do, and you're new, hit that subscribe little button, and you will get all the latest updates when I post them. Bye for now, everybody, and hope you had a very unmurderous day.